Welcome to the Brain Soul Success Show, where we learn, explore, and create your powerful positive healing for life. I'm your host, Louise Schwartzwalter. I'm the creator of a 5-part mind, body, soul methodology that clears the subconscious blocks to success. From engaging transformational interviews, brain soul success stories, and the secrets shared by brain and spiritual experts, you will reconnect, revitalize, and transform your powerful life. It's time for you. Welcome, everyone, to the Brain Soul Success Show. This is where I interview the amazing brain experts out there, spiritual experts out there, to give us wisdom to navigate our lives so you can have that clarity that you desire. You find your passion and really step up and do it in the world. So I have some amazing thought leaders that I had an opportunity to work with here, and Ann O'Brien is one of them. And I know that you will just love listening to her answers to these questions about masculine, feminine, how to empower yourself to be in a positive relationship, whether it's a relationship, in like with a spouse, with a partner, even just a business partner, just all about relationship and where do we need to come from with all of the Me Too movement today. Where are we on the planet with this now? What's the history that we can take, pieces from and really empower ourselves to be your authentic self today? I know I hear that a lot from all of you. You want to just be you. You want to get your passion out there in the world. You've said yes to yourself in many ways, and now it's kind of time to take it up to the next level. So that's what Ann and I were speaking about here. I know you enjoy her tips on, again, masculine and feminine, and how she works so deeply with people as a clairvoyant and what she's able to see that can help move the needle for you. So enjoy this interview with Ann O'Brien and myself. Love to hear your comments too. So love to hear from all of you about what it is you want to hear about. I'm here for you. And I like to empower people and learn about what's going on in their lives. So I love interaction and connection. And so I love that connection. So please comment on this. Send me an email. Get in touch with me in some way. Louise@louiseschwartzwalter.com is my email. And I just want to hear from you. So enjoy, everyone. And we'll hear you on the other side. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to have my guest and my friend, Ann O'Brien, here with us today. Ann's an amazing intuitive healer. She's a relationship coach of practical spirituality and empowered living. And since 1999, she's worked with thousands of clients. And she's kind of like this amazing non-nonsense mystic, if you will. So I love how Ann really sort of tells it like it is, but has this amazing clairvoyance ability. You really kind of get to the nitty-gritty for people. I know that you wrote your first book. It's A Woman's Guide to Conscious Love. And you've done a lot of work with relationships. Mm-hmm. So she incorporates creativity, holistic living, no-nonsense mysticism into everything that you do. And you've got some great resources too on your website that we'll share with our audience today. And it's just a gift to have you here. Thank you so much. And you're coming to us from where you shared with me that it snowed this morning.
It snowed. I'm in the mountains of Colorado near Aspen. So.
Oh, it's just looks beautiful.
It's very pretty, yes.
Yeah, so beautiful. That's wonderful. So tell us a little bit about your work and, what actually excites you? What's your passion, the kinds of people you like to work with?
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about this before our call today, and I really feel like the essence of it is reclaiming one's full life force and full creative potential. So the people that come to me, they're often not feeling like themselves. They're feeling shut down. They're feeling disconnected. They don't know their truth. They don't know their dreams. And it could show up in different ways. But like you said, I've been working a lot with relationships and a lot with women in relationships, because that's kind of, as women, we're wired for love first before everything else. So they come to me and, it's either in a existing relationship or a marriage, they're feeling shut down, or they're dating and they're trying to figure out, how do I be feminine but still be powerful? So those types of issues are my passion right now.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's so needed right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody I talk to feels like they're confused.
It's a very confusing time. The world is changing, and there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot, we could easily get into a fight or a drama or be in fear or go numb. And I'm about, what's the alternative to that? Like, we are meant to thrive. We're given bodies to create and be joyful and fulfill our purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are some of the problems besides, like kind of feeling of being stuck, So if you were going to describe to us, that intensity of relationships that you see, or that irresistible tug and pull, or I don't know if I'm using the right words, but codependency, all the little, the nuances of the difficulties of really being in, a powerful relationship with a partner, a spouse, and mate. What is it, what are some of the problems that you're hearing people are having that we can address here to make, people might resonate with?
Yeah, so there's a lot of arena, a lot of directions we could go with that one. But one thing that's coming to mind is the bottom line here, from myself, my perspective as an intuitive and as a healer. There's so much energy that goes between people. There's a lot of energetic dynamics besides just our physical dynamics. So people in relationship crisis, or people looking to create a better relationship or dating, whatnot, they could go to a therapist and get talk therapy, and they could get advice. So they could read self-help books about, here's what you wear, here's what you say, here's some tips for conscious communication, and if you do this, you can have a better, and all of that's good. And I've read a bunch of those books. But then there's the psychic level, which we're not aware of. So if you've had a past life with somebody, or if your energy is in his space or his energy is in your space, and you don't know that that's happening, it can be so confusing. Or if he's got mother issues, or you've got father issues or past trauma, and that gets kind of projected into the other, or one person is a natural healer, maybe unconscious, absorbs it, acts it out, and then their partner hates their guts because that was the part of themselves or their life they were trying to repress and deny. So there's all this stuff that goes on besides what we say and do and what we wear and how we act. And that's what I specialize in.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so how would you work with that? So let's just say that that this partner has like mother issues. What do you mean by that? Like, what does that, how would you address that,
Right. Well, for example, like, let's say a man grew up with his mother kind of smothering him. Maybe she meant well, but she was just all over him, and he had trouble kind of becoming a man because his mother was so in his world and maybe overly caretaking or overly worrying about him, or, was afraid for him to get in trouble. And so just didn't really let him go, for example. And then he gets a woman who he says, like, well, he just has to set this boundary with her. And a lot of times it's not really about the woman he's dating or married to, it's about his mother, that he never cleared that. So I'm thinking actually of one story in my book where the client never cleared that out growing up with his mother. And he kept having relationship after relationship that failed because he couldn't set his boundaries.
Okay, so it comes back to sort of that boundary issue.
Sometimes. That's just one of many, many examples I could give you.
Okay, and then I also know that, you and I talk about energy a lot, and that, someone else's energy can get stuck in someone's energy field.
Yeah.
And so it could be his mother's energy in his field that's pulling him away from being his authentic self.
Yeah.
And so then he's not able to show up in that relationship as 100% him.
Right.
And that's what really causes the dissonance or the discord, right?
Yes.
In relationships. So as a clairvoyant, I have a feeling you can see, I know, you can see right through people and kind of get to the nitty gritty right away. When someone has that information from you, when you guys are in communion, you're coaching, you're working with them. What's the transformation that occurs for those people then? From having that knowledge or that experience that you bring to the table, what ends up happening on the other side for them? How does that resolve?
Yeah, good question. So I believe as a healer, I'm not doing the healing to somebody. I'm simply holding up a mirror So they can clear it, because they usually don't want it either. They just don't know that they have it. It's like a fish can't tell you about water, because this man has had his mother his whole life. How does he know?
Right, right.
He has 4 relationships in a row that fail. And then he comes to me and I say, okay,
Okay.
what I see going on, it has nothing to do with any of these 4 women. Here's the pattern I see. And then he's like, oh, light bulb. And then he just starts to release it just organically. And then I also will, if you see me in person for a session, or if we do like a Zoom video conference, I will wave my hands around like a conductor, and I'll be like, okay, let's clear this. And so I use my powers of visualization, and I just say, okay, your mom's energy is stuck, maybe, for example, behind your low back. Let's clear it out. I might give the client instruction like to breathe there, see a color. And so then he can reclaim himself. And then he'll find, either with the woman he's with or with the next woman, he doesn't have those boundary issues anymore, because he realizes that that's not present time, and he's able to let it go.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So that's the transformation that you see, is just bring that up, and it allows that person to come up on the other side and finally let go.
Exactly.
And be who they came here to be.
Yeah. And just see clearly, a lot of this work, I'm sure your work too, it's about unpeeling who we already are. It's not about like giving a bunch of tricks to somebody or giving a bunch of techniques. Yes, we have techniques, but really it's like, oh, I don't have to be limited by my past. I don't have to be colored by other people's emotions or thoughts. I can have my own, and I can be in present time. And it's actually very simple and innocent that way, and much more fun.
Okay. So you're really empowering people.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're really helping empower people to be their authentic self, be who they came here to be. By clearing all that energy out. Yeah.
Some people think intuitive, or a healer, like I'm going to do it to them. I'm going to tell their future. I don't like to do, I like to know what you want for your future and let me help you get there.
Okay. So you're going to start with a goal or intention. So people are going to give you an intention. So give us like kind of a rundown. So what does a session really look like with you? So let's just say I'm coming to you with a problem,
We would sit down in person if you're here in Colorado, or on the phone or Zoom. And I would say, first of all, let's just take some deep breaths and kind of center within. And then I'll set my intention, and I have a little prayer I say, and then I'll have you say your name. And then when you say your name, I just close my eyes and I'll see pictures, colors, symbols. I might hear a message. I might just have a feeling or a knowing. I use all my intuitive senses. So we mentioned clairvoyance, which is seeing, but I use the other senses as well. And I just get like a little snapshot from your name alone before you tell me your question. And a lot of times when I do that, people say, whoa, you just, started to answer my question I haven't asked yet. There'll be a sort of a theme that they're not seeing. And so that initial snapshot is helpful, because once we get into their question, it's like their head might lead the way a little bit. So I want to have a minute or two just to kind of freestyle, okay, what's going on right now? And then you tell me, because I want to know. I used to joke, if I read somebody, it's like, or if I'm out in public, let's say, and I was completely intuitive all the time, it's like going to Best Buy and watching all the TVs at once, right? And even one person, so many things you could be showing me. I like your intention, because then I know what you want me to help you with. So then if it's relationships or health or, whatever you're needing, I'll focus on that. Sometimes things are connected. And so areas you didn't think were important, maybe I'm thinking of something in my book too. A woman, she's not paying attention to her money, and she's not paying attention to her purpose and the structure and stability in her life. And so there's this movement of the divine feminine, and some people take that into let me be angry and just like a man. And some women take it I'm just flowing like the goddess all the time. And I'm like, meanwhile, have you balanced your checkbook? Have you paid your taxes? No. My masculine. You have to have your wholeness.
Right. So they're not really they're not grounded. They're not taking a look at the reality of the other life things that need to. So it also sounds like what you're saying here is you're saying that you help them have balance.
Right. And I
help them have balance.
The question behind the question, because we only know as much as we know. And if people are coming to me, there's something they're not seeing.
Right.
So this woman in my example, just a made up woman, she might have a question about, why can't I get a man to stick around? Why do I get guys with no money? I'm like, well, because you're not paying attention to your own finances. you're getting a mirror reflection. And so I'm looking at something she's not asking me, but it's completely related.
Got it. So because money is energy, right? So you're seeing the energetic relationship to that,
Mm-hmm.
into her life pattern.
Yeah. And the relationships are mirrors. So I think the chapter in the new book is, your wounded masculine will attract his. So I have a story. When I was in my 20s, I dated a guy who rode his bike all around Boulder in the snow, like all year round, didn't have a car. He was a musician, and he called me one day and he said, guess what I just found in the dumpster? And I was like, what? Like, I didn't really want to know what he found in the dumpster, but he was so excited. He's like, I found a new mattress. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, and I'm not sleeping over. Like, I need to buy a bed. I remember we went out for dinner, and he wrote a check for his share. He's like, can we split the bill after dinner? I'm like, okay. His hand was shaking writing his check for $12. And at that time, I wasn't attending to my own finances. I wasn't sure who I wanted to be when I grew up. And so, of course, that's the guy I got.
Right. So everything, so it was a mirror. Right. Is what you're saying, and everything is energy, like attracts like.
Yeah. So we have to look at the blind spots.
Right. Some of the questions around relationship, I know there's this, like, the whole Me Too movement right now, and so there's a confusion definitely about our roles in the world. Yeah. And I always think about how sort of like we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. Mm-hmm. So like the energy even on the planet, without going into politics here, is chaotic. It's crazy. Yes. So as that crazy energy is played out in the world, it's playing out in our own lives too. Mm-hmm. So you're probably seeing that as being, you're so amazingly clairvoyant. And I think all clairvoyance and people work differently. That's why I wanted to ask you that, because I know that people are going to resonate with different people, and you're pretty powerful. You're powerful. You're powerful. You've got it. You go right to the source. That's what I think I like, about your work, and is you're helping people really just nail it in a sense.
Thank you.
Like what's going on, to really help them see those patterns, because if we see them, we can change them.
Exactly.
But I did want to ask you about, what is it, and what are we doing with the Me Too movement? And I know that I myself have felt like, even though as a coach, I am totally non-judgmental. Right. I believe, or try to be. Not that we don't bring our own opinions to the table, right? But there is such confusion around gender roles right now, and what we're supposed to be doing, and what is the masculine, what is the feminine. How are we supposed to show up in the world as women? So how are we supposed to show up in the world as women and still keep our femininity, but almost not be too yang? Mm-hmm. I think sometimes I'm too yang. So I really want to know the answer to this.
One of my favorite authors, David Data, he says all women are in their masculine at work, or generally if you need to achieve something in your job. There may be exceptions. If you're just like working in a nursery with babies, you're in your feminine, but you're an entrepreneur. You have to be in your masculine at work. So don't beat yourself up over that.
Okay.
So I talk about it like, okay, there's this whole rising of feminine empowerment, and we've gone from what I call the yes dear era of my grandmother's generation of like, if you have a man who provides for you well and it doesn't, beat you or, treats you fairly decently, that's a good relationship. And never mind your own identity as a woman beyond that. That was a good relationship in that era. And then we went into like my mother's generation of the angry feminism of like, let's have all the same rights and let's compete with men and be just like them. And then it's like, whoa, then everybody got confused. And now I see, some men are like, God, I don't want to be too masculine, and they're like overly feminine because they're afraid to upset a woman. So the feminine energy, I think what we're really coming to, so from the yes dear to the angry feminism, and now like, where are we at?
Yes.
The next movement is, well, feminine empowerment is not necessarily women's power. So women's power has often been like, let's be like men, let's be angry. But feminine leadership can include men actually stepping into their feminine, as well as women leading from a different place that's not the same as the way men lead. So values of connection, values of intuition, values of community, less just about driven energy. And I talk too about in my book, neither masculine or feminine is right or wrong. It's not about a battle between the two.
Right.
Both are qualities in nature,
Mm-hmm.
and both are innocent in that way. And both are a real thing. Like, so there's been a movement kind of, let's just neutralize everything because there's just too many problems with the masculine relationship. So let's just be all the same. And I see when a lot of people do that, you know the term spiritual bypassing, like they're bypassing the fact that we're not the same. We're equal and we're whole within, and we have all aspects within, but we are not the same. And the feminine energy, if you think of like a river flowing, is different than the masculine energy, which is like the riverbank holding the structure for the river to flow within. And that dynamic feminine is like that river, that we have so much range. And it's a misunderstanding, I think, of the older generations, that the feminine needs to be passive and meek. That's not the truth in nature. The feminine is very dynamic and wild. And the masculine structure, if it's applied properly, is serving of the feminine. And I think that's what we're missing. And a lot of people are yearning for in our leadership, and why they're blaming men, because the patriarchal, movement has not served. So, but the masculine energy in and of itself and its innocence in nature is that riverbank that holds the river and helps her to flow and gets her flow bigger.
That's such a great analogy. Thank you for that analogy. Yeah, of the riverbank and the flowing river. Because I was going to ask you, I said, okay, we've got sort of like the theory behind, the masculine and the feminine. And I know you probably addressed this in your book, but how would we show up then? What would it actually look like?
As women.
So give us an example of a powerful woman who is showing up, that is allowing her femininity to feed, and doesn't mean that we don't have the balance of some of the masculine qualities within us.
Right.
But what does that look like? I don't even know how you can describe it. I'm just trying to think of how can we have this conversation about this so that people go, oh yeah, I resonate with that. Yeah. That's me. That's that's what I want to strive for. I have 80% of that. Now I want to pull in this quality or whatever. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, I definitely have some ideas. So the feminine leadership is, we lead with energy. We don't lead with direction. So the masculine says, we're going to go here, we're going to do this, like, let's do it. The feminine is like, I love it so much when you take me out to dinner. I loved that you did this. Or you can go into a rage as a woman too, and you're leading in that capacity. If it's fresh in the moment, like, he did something stupid, or she, like whoever it doesn't have to be a man, but like, when we have pure emotions in the moment and we show those, we're leading with energy. We can also tap into our spirituality, and we hold our intentions and we hold our visions in our heart, and we silently maybe hold it sometimes, but we don't agree to anything that's not that. And when it happens, we show our emotion, and when it doesn't happen, we show our emotion.
Okay. Okay.
Energy. And then practically speaking, there's this idea that the feminine shouldn't speak first, or we should just wait and let him take charge. But then there's that old fashioned, like, he's going to read my mind thing. That's not applicable. So what's the distinction between, or what's in between, like just sitting around and waiting and taking charge? And a lot of women these days are taking charge. Like, well, the man's not taking charge. Somebody's got to take charge. And I think part of that is because the men have been, wounded too, and they're afraid. And part of it is I don't know what, because the women are kind of bulldozing things sometimes. So there's an art to how do you express yourself, and you can speak first, and you can flirt, you can be bold, and you can wear bright colors, and you can light the world up. And that's what we're meant to do. That's why there's beautiful women on most every billboard, like men and women alike, children, everybody, beautiful woman, like they're drawn. So we can cultivate our radiance, we can cultivate our beauty, we can express our creativity, we can express the full range of our emotions. I hope this is answering you, but this is how we lead.
This is how we lead. No, totally. Because, I really feel like even like, I'm thinking of even like a woman leader in a company.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe not even an entrepreneurial company, maybe a corporate world.
Yeah.
They have to lead differently
yes.
than a man.
Yes.
It is really what you're saying, or what I'm taking from that,
Yes.
is honoring truth.
Mm-hmm. Right. And taking a stand, you have your requirements and
It's honoring your truth. It's speaking your voice. It's honoring your truth
yeah.
in a way that's totally authentic to you and genuine to you.
Yeah.
And speaking your truth is what you're saying about emotions, allowing your emotions to flow, stating it as it is, and just being that truth, that authentic person who you are.
Yeah.
So it's showing up. It's showing up as who we are. I also get questions from people about, but I don't know my purpose. I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do too. So, with those kind of questions and that kind of seeking, how do you help someone clarify and find out who they are
Yeah.
if they don't know?
Yeah. I just had a client this morning. She's a mother of 3 children, age 4 and under. I mean, where is there time to find who you are? Right.
Right.
So there's a lot of that where it's just life takes over. But I do want to say that's really, really important, because a lot of women are afraid to be feminine because they're afraid they're going to be traumatized, because there has been so much collective and personal trauma that when we know who we are and we have our boundary of, yes, please, or no, thank you, we don't have to worry so much about protecting ourselves because we have our clear requirements, and then we create our world from that. So I would say just simply journaling, write down at the end of the day, maybe one thing I love, this is an exercise coming to mind, what you hate, to write down what you hate.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I could tell you to write down what you're grateful for. I could tell you to write down what you would do if you had anything you could do, if you had unlimited money and choice. My client this morning was saying, I wouldn't even know if I had that question, and she brought that up. But what you hate, most people know that, right? And so
that's true.
There's a stigma in spiritual circles. Well, we don't want to go there. Right? I don't want to be negative, but the point is, if you write down what you hate, and most of us know this, then that clarifies what you love and what you're a yes to. So
right. So to get clear, start with that.
That would be a good way.
Yeah, it would be a good way. It would be a great exercise, to do, because you're right. It's going to clarify the flip side of that for you if you don't have a clue to begin with.
Right. What's not working.
So what do you hate? Name 3 things you don't like.
This is random, but I hate people that don't have spatial awareness. I hate people that are like walking around the store, like looking this way and walking this way and bumping into me.
That's the Aikido teacher in you. You're so aware of body.
I hate inefficiency, and I'm a Capricorn. I hate wasting anything, like time, money, energy. I especially hate wasting my time. Drives me nuts. If somebody's wasting my time, you're like, hurry, get onto it.
So the flip side of that, those are the things you hate. So what do you love?
So that those 2 things that I hate, that clarifies that I value awareness of one's environment, awareness of other people. I value personal space, and I value efficiency.
Awesome.
And honoring of our energy.
Right. So awesome. Yeah. So see, that is a very clarifying exercise.
Yeah.
We just did it here out loud so people can hear it, feel it, and use it for themselves, right? Do this little thing. It took 1 minute, right? To do that, and it helps you get clear on what.
Too.
Yeah, it is. Of course it is.
The feminine needs to feel like it's okay to be wild. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be everything. And when we do that, the men feel like it's okay for them too.
Yes, well, of course. Well, I always say, I know that one of my gifts is when I'm working with people is I allow my vulnerability.
Yeah.
So I sort of speak my truth. I'm like, hey, this is what happens. This is how I feel. Hey, I may have some judgment around that. It's truth, or whatever's coming up, so.
And it gives that permission.
And it gives the other person permission to do that too. And I'm going to guess that even though I'm saying this in the context of working with people as a coach, and as a naturopath and all the work that I do and all the work you do, but it also is important in relationship, whether it's a friend, a spouse, a partner, a coworker.
Yeah.
it's just that honesty and that truth. Speak from your heart.
Yeah.
I think in our world we're very, and maybe we're taught that because again, we're the microcosm of the macrocosm.
Yes.
We're taught to blame and point the finger, and that blame to me is a program.
Yes.
It's a program from your ancestors that we need to clear.
It's not
It's not allowing you to connect with the person the way you want to connect with them.
No.
It's really getting down to that feeling level. What do you do with this though? Because I see probably more women than I see men, although I see both.
Yeah.
And you do too. But what do you do with the men who aren't good with their own feelings or expressing their feelings? And I know I'm kind of pinpointing men here because it seems to be more truth for a man than a woman. So I see that especially amongst our older men, they can't be in touch with their feelings. They weren't taught to.
Yes.
Where there's a very big difference between someone my husband's age and my son.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. You know what I do with a lot of those men? And a lot of times that's why they don't come to us in the first place. But if they find their way to us, the kind of thing I find works really well, and I find that the men who come to me really appreciate, is I honor them as men. I honor how hard they're working. I honor what they're giving. I honor what they may be going through that nobody's seeing, that they're not getting to talk about. And then they start to open more.
Yes. Okay. Very beautiful. Thank you.
I'm very pro-masculine, actually. I really want it. My next book will be co-ed.
Yes.
But I started with women because, that's who's ready and coming to me more right now.
Right. Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask that because I do feel that from people a lot, and that's what I see too. I see the same thing. It's really just gaining trust. It's gaining trust. Let's talk about trust for a minute. It feels like trust is a big issue on the planet. Are you seeing that as an underlying theme right now?
I would say,
for people, and so trust. I mean, we have to trust our government. Trust the world. Trust our partners. I don't know. I'm clearing a lot of blocks around. Regaining trust. It feels like.
Yes, I think it has to start with trust in ourselves. And that comes down to that authenticity. Like if you know yourself and you're willing to admit your vulnerabilities and you're willing to find who you really are, then you recognize, well, at least I trust myself. You can't really trust anybody if you don't trust yourself.
Right. So it comes down to that self-trust first. Absolutely.
But it is a very uncertain time. And I think so many new paradigms are being created. So many new ways of doing things are being created. The old ways falling away. Some of it's trying to stay in control. Some of the there's like all this light synchronicity and all side by side.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's a trying time for sure. I mean, it's a very exciting time. I feel like a lot of people are going through what I call a big leap.
Yes.
It's like the old energy or the chaos is needing to spin out, and some of it's old ancestral patterns. So that we can reach this new level of where we really do want to be and how we want to show up in the world.
And what we're used to does feel safer, even if it's completely dysfunctional. It often, as a healer, I see people are afraid to go away from what's comfortable, even if it's hurting them. So that's where you and I, and people that can support them come in, and that could be community, it could be a coach, but seeing you're not alone and you're going to be okay. It's okay on the other side.
Right, to take that leap, absolutely. Well, that's the only way we grow, is to get out of our comfort zone and do things that are uncomfortable. To allow yourself to grow and to thrive. And there are people who want to stay in that comfort zone, and yet they yearn to be up here. They yearn to be somewhere else. So it is that encouragement they may need to have to get there.
Yes.
To get there, to sort of say yes to themselves. Right, to say yes to themselves. So Anne, being an intuitive and being clairvoyant, how how do you do that every day? Isn't that challenging? When you can see, I remember one time on my biofeedback device, you can increase psychic abilities. And there was like one little button that said this thing.
Wow.
And this was like 10 years ago. And I decided to play with it, and I clicked it, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And then I went shopping.
Yeah.
And I was like in a Marshalls or a TJ Maxx or something, and I had to leave the store because I felt like I was seeing everybody's stuff. It's
That's like,
almost like I could see their underwear under their
I
clothes. It
know.
was like freaking me out. And so I like leave the store. So, so what I wanted to ask you, because we have a lot of people who are also highly intuitive. And
Yes.
even if they're not using it as their business and working in the world of being an amazing intuitive healer like you are, um, what can you share with them? How that's challenging. How do you
Mhm.
deal with that on a daily basis in the world?
It took me a long time, and that's why I got into this work. I didn't plan to be a psychic or a healer. I just went to classes to try to figure my own life out because I was overwhelmed with it. And I was healing everybody around me, and I was processing everybody's thoughts and feelings, and I didn't know it wasn't mine. I thought it was mine.
Uh-huh.
So that started when I was a teenager, and simultaneously I'm studying astrology, I'm studying metaphysical books, I'm learning to read tarot cards, and then I learned Buddhist meditation and Tai Chi, and I just started to dabble. And then in my mid-20s I found this clairvoyant program that I ended up going to, and it was like therapy. It was like, as I mentioned, kind of peeling away everything I thought was me so I could find myself. So I didn't learn to be psychic. I just went to figure out, how do I make sense of this? And so fast forward to today, I've been meditating every day for 21 years. I
Mm-hmm.
missed 3 days, the day my daughter was born and the following two. But literally, I am a disciplined person, but that hasn't been hard to discipline myself to do. It's like taking a shower. It's like you want to clean your body at the end of the day or beginning of the day, whatever. You want to clear your, like if you're aware like me, I just need to do it. It just feels really good. And if I don't do it, I feel kind of, fuzzy.
Okay, so that's your tool. It's meditation.
Tool. And then I do Aikido, as you mentioned, which if
Mm-hmm.
anybody doesn't know, that's a martial art, and it's based in conflict resolution. And there's a lot of relationship parallels to what we do on the mat. So that's some practice of embodiment. So if someone watching us or listening to this were to say, well, I don't do martial arts, well, maybe they could go for a run or a walk every day or do yoga or whatever floats their boat, but something in the body. And like what you work with nutrition, and I've been big into holistic health and nutrition too. Like what we put in our body does affect our consciousness. It's all vibration. So if you're doing a lot of sugar or alcohol, you're going to bring in stuff you probably don't want, for example. Yeah, but it's way easier now. Again, kind of fast forwarding from my early days of being overwhelmed. Now that I do it as a job, it's way easier because I have a container for it. And the people that come to me want it. Versus previously, it's like, oh, I could see my sister's boyfriend was lying and he hated my guts because I never said a word about what I saw, but he could feel, and like that kind of stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what you're really saying is because you're doing it in a container now. I love that. And you have this container and it's you get to work with people. It's your being in your truth now.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
before you would see it, do it, filter it for that person, even take it on,
Yes.
but it wasn't, you weren't there wasn't a container for it and you weren't able to speak it.
Like a conscious choice. And so one thing I can teach somebody is you can turn it on and off. You can decide,
Yes.
I'm going to sit down and look at the energy around this relationship or this job or this move or this house or my child. And you can just close your eyes and imagine stuff. And everybody who tries it finds something that they can be aware of. And the flip side is like, I'm going to choose, maybe I don't want to hear all those voices in my head that aren't helping me. So I'm going to imagine I have a radio dial in my head and I'm going to pick my favorite number and I'm going to tune to that dial. And that's the, greater love frequency or whatever it is. And that's what I'm available for. So it's like playfulness is really important. And there's a lot of parallels between the feminine power and the intuitive power because it's our receptivity, but it's also our creativity. We can project and create, and we can also receive. And both are safe to do if you know how to do them and you consciously choose to do them or not.
Oh, that was beautifully said. Thank you. Yeah. I call it the God loop. It's like we can choose to receive. It's like ask and you receive. It creates a loop. You need to ask and then you receive. Then you're in gratefulness, so it's that intention, isn't it?
And that's a new era in our relationships. I think that's a big theme where it used to be more transactional. I give you sex and you give me money, or I give you status and you give me security or whatever it is, or you give me a, light in my life. It's like, wait a minute.
Uh,
How about I'm giving my gifts freely and you're giving your gifts freely, and where there's a match, we connect. But it's not about you give me this, so I give you that. Like that old era of compromise and dimming our life force, that doesn't work anymore.
right. Well, it feels to me like there has to be, the visual I get is an infinity sign.
Yes.
I feel like it has to be a dance.
Yes. Yes.
So when you say that giving and taking, we want to honor people for their gifts.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're doing when you're coaching and working with men. That's what you just said, right?
Yeah.
I'm honoring who they are and what they are and where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And it is that, that's what I did as a special ed teacher.
Uh-huh.
Each one of those kids was special, and they were all unique, and they were all different. And they were dyslexic and learning problems, behavior problems, and yet each one of those kids had a gift. I actually liked the boys that got in trouble because they were holding their gift. They were honoring it. They were speaking their truth.
Oh, and that's
right.
Attention. They were trying to get attention in the channel that was most available, probably.
Absolutely. So if they weren't getting it at home, they were going to find a way to get it somewhere else. So yeah, but it was honoring them for who they are that helped transition and transmute them.
Yes.
And allow their inner self to shine.
Yes. And we don't have to be everything all the time. We can have very distinct personalities or gifts that we share. It doesn't mean we're not one within. And it doesn't
exactly
in a healthy way.
Right. When I think of relationships, I think of, or at least I'm thinking of like partners, relationships, spouses, marriages, whatever you want to call that. There's an I and an us.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so the healthiest relationships are when people have their own interests.
Yes.
They're still taking part in their own interests and what they love to do on their own. Maybe they like to play guitar and their spouse doesn't, or their partner doesn't, but their partner likes to go to craft fairs. I don't know, whatever it is. And so they each have their own, and then they come together and they do an us. My cousin Vicky and my Uncle Gary were a really good example for me growing up. She had all of her hobbies of working with dollhouses. She was a first grade teacher. She was amazing. She was very crafty and she liked to garden. And Uncle Gary played the harp and went to yoga classes.
Yeah.
And this was back, in the 1980s when they didn't have yoga classes.
Right.
So, he was like pretty advanced, I think. So they both had their I, and then they would come together, and their us was they liked to camp out of a VW Bug.
Right.
Like they fit everything in that car. I have no idea how, but anyway, that was their thing. And so they traveled together, and they also, had a beautiful intimacy. And so it was just a great example of an I and that us.
Yeah.
And so today I see it like an infinity sign.
So. Yeah.
Like a dance. Like a dance. Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, this has been such an amazing gift to just take a peek into Anne's brain today, and have you share with everyone here today. I so appreciate you. You did just such a beautiful job and so needed in the world today. I hope everyone can see that the clarity that you can bring to their lives, and helping them transmute as a healer too is really needed. There's a lot of confusion out there. And so I know that we're going to give a gift to our audience. I want to talk about, you've got a book coming up though first, and I know that you're in the process of just getting it out there, and it is on relationships and coaching with relationships. Give us a little tidbit about what we can expect with that. What's that about?
Awesome. So a lot of it we've talked about, but it's a guide for women, and how do you do your relationships from a real place of feminine empowerment, honoring the feminine and the masculine within yourself and your partner, as well as understanding the energetic dynamics. So that could be past lives or what you brought from your ancestors, things like that. So it's a workbook. So there's like a teaching aspect to it. There's a lot of storytelling and illustrations and practical suggestions. And then there's meditation and awareness practices woven in, and places that they can write in the book and go through their own personal process with it.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, did you guys hear that? This is a book that you can use. that's really going to benefit you. It's not just writing and then underlining things in yellow. It's a workbook. I love that. That's so awesome. Well, and then I know that you're such a giving person, and so you're honoring everyone here today with the opportunity to have a free session with you. A 30-minute free session. So we're going to do a raffle. So you've got a week here to put your name in, sort of put your name in the hat, and then Anne will pick a name, and you'll have an opportunity to work with her. So what an amazing gift. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes.
And tell us how we can get that. Where can they contact you for that?
So they can go to AnneO'BrienLiving.com. That's ANNOBRIEN living.com. And then just go on the contact page. And if you just fill out your information and put Louise in the comments, I'll know that you saw me on the show or heard me on the show. And within a week of the air date, I will draw, after a week, I will draw whoever's put their name in and pick the winner.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Anne, for the blessing of being with you here today, and thank you all for tuning in to the Brain Soul Success Show. We have more engaging interviews coming up. I'm excited to share with you. Also have some free things coming up, and we will post those here as well. So we have some virtual teas that you can attend. I love this format, by the way, being able to do Zoom today. If we haven't been on a Zoom call, it's like Skype. It's an opportunity to really, get ourselves out there in a way where we can have these intimate conversations, with people. And then this will be posted, of course, on Roku TV and Amazon Fire, so you can see us there as well. And we just want you all to have an awesome, powerful, positive day. So have a great day, everyone. And again, thank you, Anne.
Thank you so much, Louise. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you. Have a great day.